How you doing? This is Sean McVeigh with Sean's Outdoor Adventures. Although I'm usually known for my archery and bow hunting videos, I also do some housing projects. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to fix a hole in the wall. In this situation, I was doing a kitchen remodel, pulled out the refrigerator, and found that there was an abandoned electrical outlet behind the refrigerator with no electrical wires going to it. So I tore the box out and I prepared to fix the hole. First thing I did was just measure the size of the hole, and I kind of marked off how far past the hole itself I wanted to cut. I then took a level and made straight lines on the tops and the bottom and sides. Now I had a stud on the right hand side of this hole, so I actually made the line land right in the middle of the stud so that I could screw into the stud. I used my drywall saw to cut out most of the hole. Now the drywall saw comes to a point, so you basically just push it through the drywall and start sawing. However, on the side with the stud, I had to use a utility knife in order to cut the drywall out. The next thing I did was measure a piece of drywall in order to cut the piece to put in the hole. And I usually just keep a piece of drywall on hand. If you don't have a piece on hand, you can go and buy one. If you have a small car, you may have to cut it down in order to fit it in the car, depending on your situation. In order to do that, you just run a utility knife down one side in a straight line, and then it'll basically snap right on the, you fold it back and it'll snap in half. In this instance though, I just cut down the one side with the drywall saw. I cut one side of the drywall with the utility knife on the other side because it's a little bit cleaner, and then I just popped it in half and cut the other side. Now, just so I wasn't standing in the drywall dust and tracking it all over the place, I just swept it up real quick from where I cleaned out and cut the hole in the wall. The next thing I did was I got a piece of 2x4 that I could fit in through the hole. So you want it to be longer than the hole, as you can see here. And when you work it into the hole and hold it back there, you want to have a screw above the hole and below the hole. And you want the 2x4 to be halfway into your hole so that you can put screws on both sides of the drywall. One on the new piece you're putting in and one on the existing piece. And what this does, it helps prevent cracking from when drywall expands and contracts when temperature changes and there's variations and fluctuations in the temperature. This will just help prevent cracking in your finished product. The next thing I did was I test fit my piece of drywall into the hole. In this situation, it fit pretty well. Sometimes you may need to clean it up or trim it a little bit to get it to fit. But once it's in place and it fits properly, you can begin putting the screws in. Next thing I did is cut some drywall tape and just covered the seams. I personally like this type of drywall tape because there's an adhesiveness to it, so it just sticks to the area you want to put drywall over. Next thing I did was put the spackle on, and I'll just give you a couple tips. When you're doing this, make sure your trowel is fairly wide, like much wider than the tape that you have on there. It just helps with the blending. If your spackle trowel is too narrow this way, you can get a lot of grooves in it, and it just causes more work with the sanding. Another thing I suggest is plan on doing 2 or 3 coats of spackle. This just kind of helps you put it on thin and you spread it out. It just helps you get a nicer end product. If you try to do it all in once, it's usually got globs and bulks and ridges and stuff, and it just doesn't come out as good. And I kind of referred to this. This is my last tip, would be to just start off putting it on very thin, because you can always add more. If you put on too much, it can crack when it dries. It can take a very long time to dry, and it could just make it more difficult for you throughout the process. So start off putting it on fairly thin and add to it as you go. After your spackle dries, you come back with a very fine grit sandpaper and you gently sand it. You basically are looking to knock down all the little ridges and bumps that are sticking out, protruding higher than the rest of the job. Now, there could be situations where, one coat's enough. I typically, like I said, plan on doing several coats. So at this point in time, you put on your second coat. After the second coat dries, you sand it again. At this point in time, if it looks really nice, you know, it's always possible to go ahead and paint it at that point. I normally plan on just putting one more coat on just to really make it super nice. But in this situation, my wife decided she wanted an electrical outlet on this side of where I was doing the work. So, you know, like as I mentioned, I was doing a kitchen remodel. And so we were gonna put in some countertop where there wasn't any before. She decided she wanted an electrical outlet and I agreed with the decision. So now I actually had to cut all my work out and run some electric line over to a new outlet from an existing outlet. If you want to see the kitchen remodel project, I will post a link for that video when it's finished, and you'll be able to just click over to watch it. I'll put it in the description section of this video. In the meantime, here's a glimpse of the wall after I got, you know, the new drywall in place and kind of got it fixed up with the outlet in place. So there you have it. I hope some of those ideas have helped. If you want to see some of the other home repair or remodel type projects, I have a playlist that I've put together on my channel. I will provide a link for that as well. Make sure you check those out. Help me out, subscribe to my channel, check out some of my other videos. If you haven't done archery or bow hunting before, if hunting doesn't offend you and you want to try it out, make sure you watch my how to hunt white-tailed deer video. It's a whole playlist. If you just want to try archery, I have a whole playlist for, you know, tips for archery, things like that. Just go onto my channel, check all those things out. Until next time, take care and God bless.